Hello, everyone, and am I unmuted? Yeah, I am. I had technical difficulties earlier, but we're going now. We're rocking and rolling now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 46 of Brews Less Traveled, the podcast exploring the best uncharted beer cities across the U.S. I'm your host, Brian.
And I'm Eric. Sorry, I wanted to do like a big surprise there. I wanted to like come out swinging. And I'm Eric. I'm the co-host for April. I'm very excited to be back. How's it going, Brian? How are things here in Pittsburgh on your end of Pittsburgh?
Good. It started raining now. It was gorgeous earlier.
I know,
Very
yeah.
gorgeous.
I got my jean shorts on. I know it you guys can't see, but rocking the jean shorts today. I just recently saw, Brian, that Pittsburgh has only had like 4 or 5 truly sunny days so far this year.
Yeah, that's
It's
that's the talk around town. This
Yep.
was our sixth.
This is our sixth sunny day
Yeah.
on April 13th. So very excited to actually get some sun because I'm so pale. I'm just like emitting my own light at this point. Hey, I went to some new breweries. Can I give some shout outs real fast?
Absolutely. Which ones did you go to? New around
I,
here?
so new to me. Oh, I think one is very new. Yes, around here they're in Ambridge, which is maybe about 30 minutes or so outside of Pittsburgh. Here, I went to Alter Genius. I've had their stuff before. It was a great spot, but like a great food menu. Like that really interesting stuff, but also kind of place where I can get like a hot dog for $5, and that fills me up. And then right down the road, there's a new place called Fermata, I think.
Fermenta.
Fermenta, okay.
Fermenta, yeah.
And Fermenta, and yeah, it had like a cool, almost like 1950s retro vibe to it. So I don't know how many people are from Pittsburgh listening to this or travel to Pittsburgh, but definitely worth checking out those two places. So shout out to both those places.
Yeah, we will certainly be talking more about Pittsburgh as this podcast continues on, as I am a hometown Yinzer, born and bred. And yeah, I've heard good things about Fermenta, good things about Alter Genius. I have not been to new breweries in Pittsburgh. This past weekend, I was actually exploring the next featured city here on Brews Less Traveled, which we will not spoil and give away, but I had a very, very good time while I was there this weekend. We got some really great breweries, great beers, great guests lined up for next month, but we still got this month, and we still got lots of great beers from Des Moines, and we got another great episode for you today as we continue to make our way through Des Moines, Iowa. Today we're featuring Exile Brewing Company. We'll be drinking their Ruthie Gold Lager and their Citra Sky Hazy IPA.
That's right. And also, we're going to be joined by the founder of Exile, RJ Tursi. So for our subscribers, in the box, you have a nice little Exile sticker, which is already on my beer table downstairs, and a nice Des Moines sticker as well. I went through all those stickers. I love that sticker, by the way. That
I
Des
was going to
Moines
say this is
sticker
the perfect
is
sticker for
awesome.
you.
Yes. Could you hold it up to the camera one more time, just so we can
Yes. Here you go.
we
Here we
can
go.
take a look here? Des Moines. What's it say? The S's are silent. Our city is booming, and I'm glad that sticker exists because I do always want to say the S's in Des Moines when I see it. So we're going to be joined by our guest here in a little bit, but I think we're going to sort of kick things off by diving into a beer. I know I need one. Which one are we going to start with, Brian?
I think we're going to start with Ruthie. Let's start
Let's do
drinking
it.
here. Shout out to all our subscribers at home joining us for another great stream. Thanks for supporting the show through the beer club. Pat is lamenting, dang, he put the wrong beers in the fridge. Yeah, we pulled the old switcheroo on you here. We were supposed to do one brewery tonight, but then flip things around, and we got Exile here.
Brian, I have a question for you, the host of this show. So whenever I'm on camera and I'm pouring, either doing, one of our events or whatever, I'm always so nervous. Like I'm worried. I keep paper towels next to me. I'm worried I'm gonna spill it all over myself, all over the table. I'm gonna look like a klutz. Do you feel that same way?
I am, but I'm not that prepared. I don't keep paper towels around here. I'm more nervous about the fact that I'm going to say or do something that'll embarrass me, and then I'll stay up all night thinking about this one little
You gotta just own it,
interaction.
man. You gotta just own it. Well, cheers
Cheers.
everyone, because I am excited to drink this.
Cheers. just as delicious as I remember.
It's very clean. Now, I mean, I know you and I are the same when we go to check out a new brewery, and that like the gold lager, the pilsner, the kolsch, the cleanest thing on the menu is always the go-to.
The
Can you maybe
litmus, the litmus
yes,
test, so to
and
speak. Yeah.
can you maybe tell our listeners sort of, why that is?
So, the reason a lot of people will like to go for those really clean beers for kind of, so they say a litmus test or like a test of the brewery is because these, most brewers would probably say these are some of the hardest styles to brew because there aren't big bombastic flavors to hide behind. They're very clean, which requires a very controlled, deliberate fermentation schedule. It requires very good brewing practices, not only cleaning, cleanly brewing equipment, but really low oxygen exposure, and just it requires a really strong focus on the scientific side of brewing,
Yeah.
which I think gets lost in this discussion a lot, especially by beer fans. We always want to talk about the art and let's do the craziest, coolest stuff possible, but these beers I think are the most beautiful and artistic because this beer just has two different types of hops, two different types of malts in it. It's got Pilsner and Munich malt. It just has Perla hops. 5.1% ABV, 18 IBUs. It's just as clean as beer can get. It's beer flavored beer, and this is a very well done example of a nice, easy drinking lager.
Yeah, you basically stole my stole my review. I mean, it's so clean, it's so simple. You get just a little bit, just enough of the sweetness and a little bit of the bitterness from the, well, I guess more of the hops, not even so much bitterness, but it's super clean. This is an everyday, all the time beer. This is a morning beer. This is a hanging out beer. This is a barbecue beer. This is a Christmas Day beer. Like
This is an everyday beer. I have a very nice special connection to this beer because when I was in Des Moines in visiting, I happened to pick up a van there for City Brew Tours, which is our sister company with Brewvana, and I drove that van from Des Moines all the way to Salt Lake City, Utah, which was 17 hours worth of driving or something like that. And I had a 6-pack of Ruthie with me the whole time. And every night when I would stop, that's what I was drinking in the hotel room. So this reminds me of my nice, beautiful road trip across the Midwest and mountain area, I guess.
How cold was that?
It was kind of cold. As we've talked previously on the podcast, Des Moines and Omaha were very, very cold when I was there. 10 degrees, single digits. Going across Wyoming wasn't too bad. The sun was out. However, the wind was intense. 65-mile-an-hour gusts some days, and I was driving a high roof, like 10-foot tall transit van.
No.
And it was blowing me all over the road. And I passed an 18-wheeler that had gotten blown over, and they were like pulling it over they were like pulling it back upright with a winch. And I was like, oh well, that doesn't help my nerves at all.
Oh my God.
I made it to Salt Lake City, and when I got to Salt Lake City, the first bar that I went to, there was a cat hanging out on the bar, and I had a beer within like 10 feet of a cat. And I'm not going to name that bar because that could probably be like a health code violation, but like, the cat was cool.
I drink a beer 10 feet next to a cat every night, so I know that experience, and it's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, because I have a lot of questions about this beer and this brewery, so let's bring out our guests. So tonight we have the founder of Exile Brewing, RJ Tursi. RJ, are you there?
I'm here, yeah. I'm hoping my computer doesn't explode once all this stuff gets going here, but it seems like it's okay.
Now, does your computer have like a little timer counting down? Because that's normally a good indicator of an explosion.
The time stopped moving forward on the right, the bottom right corner clock.
You got to get out of there.
I know, that's what I was thinking, but it seems like it's working. So we're just gonna go with it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining. And if we have any technical issues, we'll figure them out as they come up. What are you drinking tonight?
I actually poured myself a Citra Sky.
Oh, okay, cool, perfect.
Yes.
Then we can talk a little bit more about that in a second. But I know we have some questions here, and I'm going to let Brian sort of take away with the first one.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, RJ.
Pleasure.
When I visited the brewery back in February, one of the things that first stood out to me is when I approached it was this big, giant, beautiful mural with the word Des Moines on it and some big, beautiful pictures. So, could we start there? Could you tell me about the mural that's on the outside of the brewery and like what that means to Exile and to the neighborhood and to Des Moines?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, we've always wanted to, when we opened, it was like, hey, we don't just want to be a brewery in Des Moines. We want to be part of Des Moines culture. And we talk about building a highway between our culture and our community. And I mean, that mural is just part of that. That's one of the ways that we reach out to the community. Um, it's one of the things that I guess you could say we've given it to the community. If you remember, you didn't see Exile on there anywhere. It is just a straight up piece of art that promotes the things that we like about our city. There is beer on it. There's bike riders on it. There's like, I think maybe the sculpture park is actually, the sculpture park isn't on it. But there's bike riders and the bridge is on there, and just like a lot of things about Des Moines culture are showcased on the mural, and there's people taking pictures in front of it all the time. And yeah, there you go. Very,
There
very
it is.
nice. The Capitol's up there, so it's really promoting our city and beer in general.
Yeah, that's awesome. And thank you for bringing that up, Brian, because I was just about to ask if we could see it. In fact, Brian, you should maybe, if you haven't already, upload it to like the Instagram page or something like that,
Oh, we
so
will.
that the listeners can see it as well. But yeah, that's awesome. I'm
Love
sorry I
that.
didn't get a chance to see it in person. It looks really cool. Um,
So what's kind of crazy is that mural, it definitely gets the most play out of any of the art around the brewery. But like you can see in your background, that Statue of Liberty crown that's on there.
mhm.
That was like the big piece that we put up there, and it's like an afterthought for the public. Like that is
I
a
I thought it was really I thought it was really cool too. I took a picture of that
good.
too.
Good, but I mean that is a one-to-one replica of the crown of the Statue of Liberty, and like
Wow.
what it took to get that on the building, both like physically and bureaucratically, was incredible. So that is like the real impressive thing. But people, I
Yeah.
mean, the mural is what is, I guess it's just more visible and people like it more.
Well, I do have a follow-up question to that, and it's a very straightforward question. It's why? Why the
Why the
Statue of
crown?
Liberty? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, why the crown? Well, okay, so why we use the Statue of Liberty in a lot of our branding goes back to the name Exile and what the name means to us. And so when we founded the brewery, when my dad and I founded the brewery, we knew that we wanted the brewery to be a tribute to my grandfather. And he was an Italian immigrant. He came over to the US in like the 1920s, and he had the experience of being on the ocean for weeks, and then the first thing that they would see was the Statue of Liberty, and that was like the sign that, hey, the new world is here. You have a new life starting right now. And they would call the Statue of Liberty the mother of exiles. And that my grandpa coming over here created so many opportunities for our family, and so we wanted the brewery to be a tribute to that.
That's perfect.
That's
That sounds
awesome.
awesome. Well, so sort of speaking of, I'm going to steal Brian's question here.
Sure.
Statue of Liberty and your grandfather, that sort of thing. I mean, this beer that we're drinking, Ruthie,
Yeah.
it says a Des Moines original. Ruthie became a staple. I don't know much about Ruthie, so can you
Yeah.
sort of tell us a little bit about Ruthie and maybe this beer a little bit and how those two are connected?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ruthie was a bartender in Des Moines in the 50s, was kind of when she was having her heyday. She was one of the first female bar owners, if not the first female bar owners in the state of Iowa. She opened her bar when she was 25 years old. So, like, definitely a trailblazer.
Mhm.
But the reason why she became infamous or famous, infamous, depending on your perspective, was, if you hold up the can, she would serve beers the way that she's depicted as doing it on the can. So she would, yeah. So
Yeah,
she
hold that
was
up, Brian. Yeah.
well endowed. Would put the glasses on her chest, pour the beer into the glasses, and serve it up to her customers that way. And so at the time, the traveling salesman was a big thing, and traveling salesmen started talking, hey, when you go to Des Moines, you got to check this out. Cecil B. DeMille, the famous movie director, he passed through Des Moines at one point, and he saw her, told her she should raise her prices. So she started charging 54 cents a beer when like all the other bars in town were charging 17 cents a beer. The IRS tried to put a burlesque tax on her. Local sheriff tried to shut her down for an indecent show. She defended herself in court and won on all of those charges. So she has all these really cool stories about her. She was also married 15 different times, married to multiple men at once. I think had like 6 different around the world honeymoons. So she was just this, huge personality that, she's an awesome story. And like the story was going away. I had read about her in a Bill Bryson book, The Life and Times of Thunderbolt Kid. And my dad knew about her. Yeah, and my dad knew about her from, he worked at a beer distributor when he was younger, like 18 years old. And some of the older guys, the beer distributorship, knew about her and would talk about her. And so my dad was actually the one that was like, oh, we gotta name a beer after that gal that would do, the thing. And then like, as we started doing the research on her, it was like, yes, we absolutely need to name a beer after her.
I think it's a very fitting tribute to her. I mean, not only, obviously it's a beer, but this gold lager feels very much in the style of that time frame of,
Absolutely.
what was popular there.
Yeah.
Now let's take a beer break and talk some more about public art. Located just a half a mile from Exile Brewing, the Papa John Sculpture Park houses some amazing pieces of art. Now, this 4.5-acre park offers one of the most impressive collections of sculptures in the world, from an iconic love sculpture by Robert Indiana to the 28-foot tall T8. This sculpture garden offers a wide variety of art styles and pieces. My personal favorites were Nomad, a Jean Plensa sculpture made entirely of letters. I'm sure I butchered that name. And the more creepy Spider by Louis Bourgeois. Again, sure I butchered that. And Thinker on a Rock, which was a take on the classic statue featuring the signature rabbit figure of UK artist Barry Flanagan. I highly recommend checking out this sculpture garden when you make it out to Des Moines. And now, let's get back to the show.
Well, let's sort of move on to our second beer, the beer that you are already drinking there,
Yeah.
RJ. The Citra Sky. Brian, are you ready to crack? All right, it sounds like you already are. Okay, good.
Absolutely, yeah. I was like already halfway into it. I am very excited.
Let's crack them open. The Citra Sky.
Switch it up.
What can you sort of tell us about this one, RJ, as we're opening and pouring?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, we've been brewing hazy IPAs for a long time. We still do have a beer series called the Hop Chronicles, and that was really where we started cutting our teeth on hazy IPAs. And I think we started brewing those like maybe 4 years ago. It was kind of our way of like, hey, we're making these beers, but we don't have a flagship one. That was probably a mistake. Should have made that flagship beer about 4 years ago. But, over the years, we dialed in the style for ourselves. And this was what we put out. We started putting this beer out last year as our flagship hazy IPA. The public demands it. Anytime somebody's coming into a brewery nowadays, they're asking for a hazy IPA. And there were times when we wouldn't have one on tap. And so it's like, hey, we need to have one on tap all the time. We need to have one that people can rely on. And so this was it.
Very cool. Well, I haven't even had a sip yet. So cheers.
Get after it. Yeah. Cheers. I've got one right here.
Yeah, this is great. Brewed with Citra and Mosaic hops. It's got Golden Promise, Pilsner, oats, pale malt, wheat malts. It's really has a really nice base malt character to it. 6% alcohol, and then that Citra mosaic combo just jumps out of the glass, and
Yeah.
really nice pineapple and
Yeah, this is everything I want in a hazy IPA, where there's a balance, really, but you can still get some of the bitterness. Sometimes
Yeah.
the hazy IPAs are almost too soft, where I
flabby.
want,
Yeah.
I still want some of that bitterness, but I'm also, I'm not a guy who needs like a triple IPA in his life. Like sometimes that's too much for me. So this is like a really good balance, and it almost ends with like a little bit of a peppery note. Are you getting that, Brian? Like just on the back end, the very late back end?
Maybe a little bit of fermentation thing. I don't know if it's peppery, but there's something on the back end that
Yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
when you talk about balance, I mean, balance really drives almost everything that we do down at Exile. We're not, hey, nothing against the breweries that really like to make those big extreme beers, but balance is what we are all about. It's the type of beers that we enjoy. That's what we're always trying to strike. And that probably goes back to how we started with brewing lagers, smooth, clean, easy to drink lagers.
mm-hmm.
Now, you mentioned you had been doing a series of hazy New England style IPA beers for a while, and then landed on Citrus Guy to be kind of like the flagship as a flagship IPA. We also have Ruthie here, which is a crushable all day, all year drinker. I'm curious, what is the biggest seller of Exile?
Ruthie by far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been there. It's been there from the beginning. We actually, before we started bottling beer, we had another beer that was more popular than Ruthie.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went into packaging, we actually decided to shed that beer and really just kind of push all our chips in on Ruthie, because we didn't want to split our marketing push on
Sure.
all the, it was like, hey, let's really focus on this one. And it's worked out for us.
Awesome.
Well, how far do you distribute? I mean, it looks like a very big location. I meant, do you sell to a lot of bars in the area? I'm sure you do in the
Yeah.
area, but like the rest of the state, do you go outside the state?
Yep, we're statewide. We go west to Lincoln, Nebraska. So we're in Omaha, we're in Lincoln, and then we go east up to Chicago, but we're not quite in Chicago yet. But I mean, the majority of the beer is like the 5-county area and surrounding Des Moines.
Gotcha. Do you do shipping for any people that might be listening and already drank theirs?
Shipping is not, I don't think that's
Okay, bummer.
Yeah, not so much.
I do have a question from the chat of how far north do you go?
Up to the Iowa border, the Iowa Minnesota border. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. So we're up, like in the Spencer, Okoboji area, Mason City area. We're in Dubuque. So yeah, Decorah. We're in all those areas.
Cool.
I read a story that you did ship some beer at one point. You actually shipped it to Japan. Did you at one point distribute your beer to Japan?
That's funny that you asked that. That actually ended up getting blown up by COVID. It ended up not happening. So,
okay, well that makes sense.
But we actually this was like just yesterday. The gentleman that's going to start that wants to import the beer to Japan, he just reached back out to us and was like, hey, we're ready to start doing this again. So it's back on the table. We just had some, exchanged some emails with him. So hopefully we can get that going in the next month.
That is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But just before we move on, Brian, I don't mean to interrupt you. I don't want to bring up the location again, but we have people really that seem like they want to find your beers. It's some people here in the chat. So it seems like we have someone from Chicago. So they just want to know how far outside of Chicago they have to go to get your stuff. It sounds like you guys are very close.
We are, yeah. So we go to like North Aurora. I think we're in some places in Naperville. Like the Benny's in those like surrounding areas should be starting to carry some of our products. And then, there's bars in those areas as well. But I know that we have stuff in Naperville and the distribution warehouse is in North Aurora. So you're definitely able to find stuff in that area.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Shout out to our Chicago area listeners.
Yeah.
So Eric and I are certified beer servers. the first level of the Cicerone program. We learned last month that friend of the pod, MC, became a certified Cicerone, the next level. After those levels are the advanced and master Cicerone. Advanced is rather difficult jump from the certified exam, which is already a fairly difficult exam. For context, there are 155 advanced Cicerones in the world, and there's 20 master Cicerones. RJ, I read that you earned your advanced Cicerone certification in 2020 or recently.
Yeah,
What
it
was that
was.
exam like, and what was that process like for you?
Yeah. So I took the test in 2019, and I think they got back to us on the results in like late 2019, early 2020. The exam is very challenging. It's a day long exam. There's written test portions, there's essay portions, there's interview portions where you're sitting down with master cicerones, and going over food and beer pairings. They're giving you a beer, giving you food. Hey, tell me about this pairing. They're giving you a beer, identify this style, tell me everything about the sensory aspects of the beer, from the color, the aroma, the appearance, the mouth feel, the finish, all those things. And then of course you have your actual tasting portion, which consists of off flavor identification, consists of style identification, and then describing the beers either in short phrases or in essay forms. And when you describe the beer in the essay form, it's like, how do you think the beer was made? Like, what is going on with this beer? How did they arrive at this liquid? So very challenging test. Lots of studying. You just have to you have to study a lot to
Yeah, I'm sure.
to do it, and you definitely have to be methodical when you study it. You can't just read a bunch of beer books and hope that you're going to go and pass the test. You have to be deliberate about the things that you're studying. And yeah, it's challenging.
And even then, the Cicerone program for every level of their exams provides a curriculum, an outline
Yes.
that's everything that
Yeah.
could be covered.
Yeah.
And even when RJ says get specific, that outline for the advanced Cicerone is 7 or 8 pages long. Like there is
Oh yeah.
the width of information that is covered at those higher stages is unbelievable. Also, I love the idea of the master cicerones like grilling you. It's like if the
Yeah.
Illuminati took over beer
Yeah.
tasting, and they're like,
Yeah, they all have like hoods on, and you're in a dark room. And well, I have a question about that. So how do you study sort of the tasting portion? Is it like these are the beers you should try, or is it just trial and error, or how does that work?
So the tasting portion, it has a few different parts to it. So like off flavors, for instance, at
Gotcha. Hmm.
Exile, we have a lab, and you can get spikes, and you can make the spikes of the off flavors. And
Hmm.
then, so like leading up to it, it was like, hey, Jeff, he was like our lab guy at the time, like, I need you to start making me some spikes, and we need to start, don't tell me what they are. We need to test on these. And we do that for our staff as well at the brewery. So that's one
Cool.
portion of it. Another portion of it is, drinking beers. So like I would go to like the English beer bar here in town, or like the German bar or whatever, where you need to find like a wide style of beers. You can't just
Sure.
drink craft beers. Like it's about like world styles.
Right.
So, you seek those things out. And then when you're there, you drink it, and you don't just drink it, you write about it, you talk about it, and evaluate it, as much as you can, and try to pound it in. Yeah, honestly, probably one of the things that I thought was most challenging, and that I'm like most proud of how I did, was like one of the portions of the written test is just knowing. You have to know the ABV range, the IBU range, the SRM or color range, classic ingredients, and classic styles, or classic examples of every single style of beer. And so as I started studying that, I was like, how am I ever going to do this stuff? And
Yeah.
like,
So much information.
it is a ton of information, and like just memorizing it, just memorizing it rote is impossible. So my wife actually was like, hey, I've read this book, or I like watched this YouTube video on memorization techniques. And she was like, watch this video, and then maybe that will help you. And it like, I started using these memorization techniques, and they really worked.
Oh, wow.
And I was able to actually knock that portion out. So
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, sorry,
How
Brian.
long is that whole process? So when do you say like, I am going to take the Advanced Cicerone? You
it's
start
a year.
studying a full year. You put
It's a
into it.
good year. Yeah. You want to give yourself a year. Yeah.
That's nice.
Well, we do have a few more questions, but I think that our listeners and our watchers would be interested knowing, as an advanced Cicerone, if there is like just one tip that you want to share. I don't want to say like the most important beer drinking tip or anything like that, but if you were like, everyone should drink out of a glass or like something like that, is there like one tip where you're like that you feel like people should know?
Sure. About enjoying your beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, drinking out of a glass, drinking out of a clean glass that's a great tip. And then, it's a good exercise in awareness. Like if you can just like, hey, I'm just going to really focus on this. I'm going to take this step by step and not just drink it and like, what did I think about it? Like, okay, be deliberate. Like, what is the color? What is the appearance? What's the clarity? What's the head look like? What is the aroma? What am I smelling? Oh, I don't know what I'm smelling. Well,
Right.
sure you do. Sure you know what you're smelling. Like, is it fruity? Is it woody? Is it not? Okay, it's fruity. What type of fruit are we thinking about here? Like, is it a tropical fruit? Is it a citrusy fruit? And like, if you want to get good at evaluating beers, just start high resolution. I feel like there's so many people that are just like, oh, there's no way that I could ever like identify styles and do this, like, oh, and then they don't try. But if you just start really high resolution and just start narrowing it down, you'd be surprised how
Mhm.
how quickly you can just start picking it up and nailing it.
Yeah, and I think you're definitely right. There's something really great about being mindful about it and
You
just
have to
taking
be.
your time and drinking it and kind of enjoying it as it is. Well, sort of with that in mind, I want to talk a little bit about the philanthropic arm of your brewery, the Exile Builds. Can you sort of tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that again, that like the mural, that goes back to wanting to be a part of the community and wanting to influence the culture of our city. I was born and raised in Des Moines, and I left for college and a little bit after that, but I've been there for most of my life. So, we want to have a nice community in Des Moines, and we have a business that's very social. And so, we feel like we can help create that type of atmosphere in Des Moines. So, we have a few initiatives that we really focus on. One of them is going to be coming up pretty soon here. So we host a bike ride every spring, and then a portion of the entry fee goes to enhancing the bike trails in Des Moines. Most people probably don't know this. I never see Des Moines on lists for like, these are great bicycle. This is the best bicycle towns in the USA. Honestly, Des Moines should be on that list because we have the like awesome bike trails throughout the entire city. And so we donate to the trails, whether that's like, hey, if we donate, we can get a bench here, we can get a bike tool, stand somewhere on the bike path. So that's one of our initiatives that we really like. Another really big initiative that we do is our breast cancer awareness initiative. And what we do for that is we turn all the labels for Ruthie and the packaging for Ruthie, we turn it all pink. And then, a portion of the sales from the pink label Ruthie stuff during breast cancer awareness month goes to a local charity, Casting for Recovery, I think is nationwide, but it goes to their local chapter, which is it's like a recovery initiative where women go out and they fly fish, so they're getting out into nature. And then from my understanding, like the motion is apparently good for the physical therapy of recovering from breast cancer. So that's one of the big ones. And then our biggest donation every year has actually turned into the national our Rising Hope. We're part of the Rising Hope program that happens nationwide. Joey Hansen, our brewmaster, he lost a nephew to pediatric cancer, and so he really pushed the initiative on like, hey, we want to be a part of this. So all of the proceeds from this Rising Hope beer go to fund national pediatric cancer research. And a lot of people God, I can't remember who the vendors are. I should really call them out, but they donate the malt, they donate the hops.
Wow.
I think Cigar City does the recipe, but we're a part of that. And so like all the proceeds that we make in the tap room during the time that beer is there, from that beer, that they go to the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation. That's not all of them, but those are definitely the big ones.
Wow, you guys do a lot. Like you guys have a lot of programs going on.
Yeah.
I've heard something with Trees Forever.
Oh yeah,
Are you doing with? It sounds like you have a lot of stuff going on. I mean, Earth Day's coming up. Are you guys going to do anything with them?
Man, I don't know if we're doing Trees Forever this year. I wish I wish we were, but I don't think we have it on the schedule. We've done it in the past. There's a program here in Des Moines that if you just volunteer with them, like they bring the trees, you just plant them. So we've planted trees in the area. We need to start doing that again. And then we also have like a big portion of the Adopt a Highway is like underneath our belt in our city. And so we clean up the highways twice a year as well.
Wow. Do you guys even like make beer there, or are you just constantly just helping everyone out?
It's important to a lot of the people that work at Exile, and we can't, there's big companies here in Des Moines and we cannot compete. Like we have smart people that work at Exile and we can't really compete with these other big companies just strictly on like, hey, here's what we can pay you. Like we have to compete on culture. We have to compete on, this is what it means to work at Exile. This is what you're a part of. You're actually a part of something where we're trying to make our city better with really fun social events, and then also just contributing to the landscape of the town as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Somebody that's in HR by my day job, I can attest to that. There are studies that show that people will give up significant portions of salary and raise increases to work for a company that takes care of them, gives them better benefits, plays a bigger role in their community. So that absolutely means a lot.
Yeah, and it's not just that I'm trying to keep it all, like it's tough to run it. Like it's tough to run a brewery, especially right now. I'm sure you guys have heard about it. Like every brewery's got to be feeling the squeeze right now with what's going on. So yeah.
No, and Eric, they do make beer. When I was there, Chris,
are you sure?
When I was there, Chris, the general manager, he was like, "Yeah, I'll take you in the back." You guys were slammed the day that I was there, and he was like, "Yeah, hang out." I hung out for 10, 15 minutes, and he was able to take me back there. And you start to see it's a decent sized brew house, and then you round this one corner, and there's like 6 90-barrel fermenters that are like gigantic, and you're like, "Okay, I didn't expect to see this much beer being fermented back here," but yeah, they are certainly producing a lot. What is the annual output? What did you guys brew in 2021?
We did just under 14,000 barrels in 2021. Wow. This year we're definitely hoping to top 15,000, and our goal is 17,000.
Wow.
Would that max your space? Would that max your current space?
No, we have a lot of space. I mean, as you saw, that's why we built it out like that. It was kind of like, hey, let's just do this big shot here and get a good amount of runway, so that we're not needing to go and hey, we got to build another brewery. Like that's not what I want to be doing a couple of years from now.
Oh.
So, yeah, there's
sharing some pictures, sir.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
I'm all about the screen share now, so everybody just get ready.
yeah.
This is a part
Yeah,
of the
that's right.
podcast now.
If you're just a listener to the podcast, you're missing out on all these great pictures
Yeah,
here.
check out the video podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm about to say something I didn't think I would say a month ago, but Des Moines seems kind of cool. Like
Des Moines
the more we're talking about Des Moines, the more I'm like, all right, that sounds like it's got it going on there. It's worth checking out, maybe.
Des Moines is a great town, you know, and I don't call it a city necessarily. It is a city, but it's still, to me, it's still just like a really great big town, you know, and there's not a lot of traffic. Like I said, the bike paths, there truly are second to none. Like Iowa has one of the best bike cultures in the country for sure because of Ragbri. I don't know how many, if you guys or any of your listeners have ever heard of Ragbri. It's a bike ride that happens across the entire state every single summer. The route changes every year. It lasts for a week. It's a week-long rolling party. It's so much fun. And like we have a team at Exile that does it every single year. I wasn't able to do it last year, unfortunately. I'll definitely be doing it again this upcoming year. But that, I think, and that started in the 70s, and that I really think yes. And so that has built the culture of biking in the state of Iowa and definitely in Des Moines. So I mean, there were nice bike paths in Des Moines 15 years ago, and just, you know, it's just continued to build. So honestly, that was like when I was thinking about moving back to Des Moines, and it was like, can I really see myself here, you know, long term in my adulthood? Like bike paths was one of the things that I was like, I really like doing this. So
That's cool.
good. So yeah.
Well, that leads me perfect into the one question that we like to ask all our guests, and I think I can guess at what your answer is going to be. But what is, you know, we're talking about beer, we've talked about bike paths, but what is one thing that you wish Des Moines was more well known for? Is it bikes?
I mean, man, what is one thing that I wish Des Moines was well known for? It's got to be bikes and beer. I think that Iowa has, like, it really does. I know Iowa's a small state, not a big population there, but like our beer industry is really, really high quality. I mean, I know you hear a ton about California, Colorado, obviously Michigan, but I'm telling you, the beer industry in Iowa, it is top quality. It is competitive. There's great beer coming out of Iowa, definitely out of Des Moines. And then, yeah, the biking in the state of Iowa it's the best. You know, we don't have big mountains. We don't have the ocean. We have bike paths. That's kind of like, that's our way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's our way of getting outside.
Well, I want to share because you seem like a big bike guy, man. Here in Pittsburgh, it is hilly and mountainous all over the place. We actually have the steepest street in the country here in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
And there is a bike race. I guess it's a race. I forget what it's called, but basically it's up 13 super steep hills, including the steepest street in the country. I'm not exactly sure of the route, but it goes up 13 crazy hills. So
goes up Rialto Street.
It goes up Rialto Street. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
shout out to the Pittsburghers that understand that local reference.
So that's as much. So I have friends that bike around the city, and I don't do it because everywhere you go is uphill. So it'd be nice to have a bikeable city.
Yeah, you know, I visited Seattle one time, and I had heard, oh, hey, Seattle's a great city to ride your bike around in, and I was like, you're gonna get killed riding your bike in this city. Like, I didn't see a lot of bike paths, and it was so hilly, and a ton of traffic. I was like, oh my god, I don't know if I would ride my bike in this city. Like, so,
tell me about it.
It's a real thing. I saw somebody on the chat said that we have the Hawkeyes. We do have the Hawkeyes. Go Hawks. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, RJ. This has been great. I definitely learned a lot about your beers and yourself and Des Moines. It was a lot of fun. Any last thing you want to plug or talk about before we get out of here?
We've got a couple of new flagship beers that we just came out with, the Tercy Pilsner and our Tico Time, tropical wheat ale, and we're getting ready to start releasing some ready to drink cocktails, starting with vodka sodas. So we're just, we're still expanding what we're doing, and just always trying to think about what's next while still making, our classic stuff.
Well,
Awesome.
if you're in Iowa or near Chicago or in Omaha or also possibly in Japan, look out for that stuff. Awesome. Well, thanks again, RJ, for joining us. Thanks, Eric, for co-hosting, and of course, thanks to RJ and Exile for these great beers.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you. You can check out more from Exile at exilebrewing.com. You can find more from us at brewvana.com. That's also where you can join the beer club and get great beers like these shipped directly to you monthly. Sign up now. Well, actually, by the time this podcast gets out, we'll already have shipped out next. We'll already have closed shipping for the next month. So you have to get in for June. The next month after next month. But don't worry, lots of great beers coming in that box as well. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Untapped at Brewvana. We'll be back next week with some great beers from our next feature brewery, Fire Trucker, up in Ankeny, Iowa. And we'll be back with another fun episode. But until then, stay safe, be kind, and support your local breweries. Cheers. Good night, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.